Hey, everybody. Welcome along to a very special session today. Welcome, George. How are you doing?
Doing awesome. Love it.
I see you're not alone. There's somebody else here that's invaded our studio.
Yep. Yep. We have a vagabond who's kind of rolled into the studio.
Well, welcome, Dave Sheehan. Hey, Dave, how are you?
How we doing, guys? Great to be here.
So today we're taking our first step outside of discussing specifically business-related topics like books and podcasts and networking in general. Today we are very much following the direction laid out on our the little quiz that we gave everybody last time out, when by far the number one topic that people wanted us to go into within the 7 options, or 8 options, should I say, within Rethink, was the H for health. And we didn't exactly get into the breakdown between physical and mental health, but today we're going to be starting specifically with physical health, which, I mean, whoever you are, you're going to benefit enormously from this. It's got a huge impact on all of us, whether it's us ourselves or the people around us. We know that if you're physically healthy, everything else seems to fall into line that little bit better. So today I'm actually introducing you to somebody who I know since, Dave, what, we were 11 years of age, maybe 11, 12?
11, 12, something like that.
11,
Yeah.
12. Yeah, and Dave used to do my French and maths homework for me for 4 years-ish. I was just terrible at both. Sorry for
You love
saying that
pointing that
publicly.
out, Paul.
Well, it had to be said at one time. No, that's a weight off my shoulders. So sorry, Billy Burke, if you're hearing this for the first time. But Dave was, we actually went to the same college as well, University of Limerick, and Dave decided to get into business, and I decided to get into industrial biochemistry. Only one of us ended up using our primary degree for our careers afterwards, and that was, well, what do you guess? Certainly Dave. And actually, I have ended up using biochemistry with longevity, funny enough. Took only 20 years to start to use it again. But Dave became extremely passionate about health, like at 20, 21 years of age, when the rest of us, that was kind of at the back of our minds. And Dave ended up setting up a chain of gymnasiums in our local city in Limerick. And yeah, he's had incredible results with thousands of clients over the years. Dave worked directly with me as my personal trainer for my wedding. And more recently, we've decided to take things more seriously and look at, really revamping my personal health in terms of, I hadn't felt like I'd ever really attained the heights of what I could possibly do. And Dave and I worked very closely together on that, and have since then also started helping many, many people within the Rethink Academy completely change their health. So that gives you kind of a backdrop of why Dave is here. So Dave, maybe it'd be better if you give a better background chat on how you decided to get into this in the first place. And what's kept you in it for so long? Because a lot of people drop out of the health space after maybe a decade or so.
For sure, and especially as things change and kind of change from offline to online as well, kind of lost a lot of people. And also got a lot of people on board that not necessarily were qualified to do it either. So you kind of have both sides. But it's like for myself, I got into the whole health space at about 17 years of age, where like growing up in that, I had my own kind of issues within my own head in terms of my own self-esteem, self-image, self-confidence, which I never showed externally, but internally I was in torture, as I always say to people, and didn't want to be around. But outwardly, I was a very different kind of person for most people. But I basically there was a guy I got friendly enough with in college who basically wanted someone to come to the gym with him. And he kept at me and at me and at me. And I just had no interest in going in, because in my mind, a gym was just full of knucklehead bodybuilders, and I'd be there, this puny guy looking like a complete idiot, and there's no way I was putting myself in that situation. But he kept at me, and eventually I said, look, I'll shut this guy up, I'll go once, and then I'll never go again. And I went that once, and I basically never came out of it. And that was the start of my own journey. So it started in transforming my own self-esteem, self-confidence, self-image, all that side. I went to my own journey that way. I felt the endorphin kick of exercise, and I saw the changes physically. That obviously has a huge impact on your emotional and your mental health. And I was on a journey. I was coming to a very good place after 2-3 years, but also at the same time, for the effort I was putting in, I wasn't getting the results that I expected to get. Like I was training 3-4 hours a day. I was eating what I thought was the right way to eat, or what I had read and seen and so on. And I kind of thought, look, I'm putting 3-4 hours a day. What's going on? I still don't have a six pack. Like I surely should have a six pack by now. So that started my voyage, I suppose, into really immersing myself in studying the ins and outs of biology, the scientific nature of different people's bodies, metabolisms and all of that. And it would have started like typically exercise. Okay, exercise goes so far. And nutrition is obviously clearly important. Okay, how deep do we go into nutrition? Then that would have come on to then mindset, how important your mindset is for even just adherence and consistency. Because again, we all have our limiting beliefs and associations and patterns and scripts and so on. So as I was going through my own journey, that was arming me with the tools to then go into full throttle a career that, I gradually went into. And then sleep was another massive one that people really do not realize just how important sleep is, not just to your body shape, but to absolutely everything. And while I was going through that journey in the university, I started working in the gym. So when I was in university, I did my 4-year degree, like Paul said, it was business studies, it was with French and accountancy major. I did 4 qualifications in fitness and nutrition, and I worked in the college gym. And then 3 days after I finished college, when I'd been offered a massive job, lucrative job in Luxembourg, I decided to take a job working in a gym on $7,000 a year. So I was actually disowned for a month by my family because they could not understand what the hell is this guy doing, going into a dead-end career, because that would have always been seen as no prospects. In essence, just answering phones and cleaning toilets and showers. But for me, it was always more than that. Like, one, I wanted to love what I did because my uncles were all entrepreneurs, but they just worked literally 24/7, very unhealthy, every kind of disease, Mr. Kids, all that kind of stuff. So I was very conscious of doing something I was passionate about, but also something that could make an impact on other people. Because I had had such an impact on my own life, I then felt compelled to, and I felt it was a purpose and like a mission to help other people. And as I was going through my own journey, it was naturally kind of happening. As I was changing and feeling better and outwardly the same, people would ask me, what are you doing? And how do I do this? And I'd like to get in shape. So I naturally was doing it anyway. And even I can remember, like, even growing up, I always seemed to be the kind of person people gravitated towards to ask stuff. If they wanted help, if they needed a chat, they were feeling bad, stuff like that. Even when I think back to being like 8 years of age. That's why I feel like, it's nearly like a purpose for me. Like, I obviously have 2 purposes in life. One's my son, and the other one's to make a positive impact on as many people as I possibly can in my lifetime. And now I'm actually in my, 31st year of doing it. And it was just a case of, I said, my own journey, then starting to help a few people, then left college, went working in the gym. And the usual thing, I had a lot of ideas. I was very entrepreneurial anyway, and they weren't taking on board any of those ideas. And at the time, personal training was getting very big in America, starting a bit in the UK, and in Ireland, it was only in a little bit in Dublin. And I saw this, because I used to always look at America, because that's always the leader information. Then I went to the UK, then I went to Ireland. And I went to the manager and said, look, this thing's going to be massive. I'll put it together. I'll manage it. I'll run it. Happy out with that. He said, great, sounds great. Went and did all the work, put the blueprint, the plan together, went back and said, great, let's go. He says, well, how's this going to work? Where's my part in this? I will give you an extra £1 an hour. I said, are you kidding me? Like, £1 an hour, and I'm doing all that effort. So that's what made me decide, okay, I'm out of here. I'm going to do my own thing. And first thing I did was rent a house, turned it downstairs into a bit of a gym, bought some secondhand equipment, and basically went from there to eventually I had 5 different facilities, ladies' gyms, personal training centers, normal gyms. We did kids services, we did boot camps, taking people away for weekends, so supplements, all those kind of things, seminars and so on, and like 55 staff and so on. It turned into an animal. And that's where it's like sliding doors. It's like with, as I said, the guy pestering me to get into the gym. And I would say, go away, leave me alone, leave me alone, leave me alone. And eventually I gave in to shut him up. I had the same situation with Paul in 2009, where he kept saying, you have to get online. You're helping loads of people locally. You're helping a little bit nationally, but you could help people globally. And I was like, go away with that online stuff. Facebook, you must be joking. I'm never going near Facebook, because to me it was just like poison. I'm not going near it. I was on 0 social media. I had 0 online. Kept at me. And there happened to be an event in our city, Limerick. And he goes, come to this event. And I went to the event, and within 5 minutes I got it. I knew what he was talking about. And that was my online journey started. And over the few years after, I pretty much cut ties with offline. Like, I've still have done offline a little bit over the last, 17 years, but picking and choosing what things I want to do offline. because I wanted to embrace the fact of online gives you so much freedom. And I've lived in different countries and traveled a lot and been able to help people all over the world. And it, again, as I say, go back to my purpose. You know, what Paul opened the door for me helped me then and helps me today to help so many people around the world. But as I say, it's a purpose for me, it's a passion, and you know, I'm fully invested in it, I'm fully committed, and that's why for 31 years now, like this is my life. Like I study it all the time. I'm always looking for the quickest methods, the most effective methods, both for short-term and long-term results, 'cause that's a key thing as well. And I try things on myself. If they work, then I'll impart them onto other people. So I don't jump onto trends. I try things myself, and if I think, yeah, that actually makes sense and it works for me, then I'll try it with other people. Because we are all kind of different as well. So while you can have programs, you do have to personalize things to a certain degree as well. So that's a bit about my journey. And like along the way, I've done different things. Like I've become a Body for Life champion, which was a massive thing for my own self-esteem, self-confidence as well. And also proved to me how low I could get. Like I got down to 3.5% body fat, and I gained, 26 pounds of muscle in 12 weeks. Like I was training like a machine. But to me, again, it made me then a role model. And that's what I've always aimed to do. Like the way I live my life is I want it good for me, of course, from a put on my own oxygen mask first type principle, but also to be a good role model for others. So I don't tell anyone to do anything that I won't do myself. And I always aim to lead the way. And anything I've ever done in my life, I've always aimed to be the best I possibly can be in it. And that's why, again, I'm constantly learning and learning and learning. And you learn from people and their personal situations and lifestyles and their results and so on, as well as, again, for myself, as well as, you know, proper scientific information that actually makes sense.
All right. That's the whole history.
Yeah.
Nice,
That's a
nice.
bit about me anyway.
So my question is this new program, like just so everyone understands, like Paul and I got together on it was a mastermind meeting. They were in Tampa, Florida and we all went out to lunch. And he pulls up his phone. He said, I'm on this bit of a, because he was eating different or something. I forgot what it was, but he just pulled up his phone. He said, I've been on this program lately, and, you know, got some before and after pictures. I forgot how the conversation went, but he turned his phone around. I'm like, who is that? He's like, that's me. I'm like, and this, I mean, he's completely ripped. I mean, washboard stomach and everything else. And I'm like, come on, man. AI, Photoshop, stop messing with this. He's like, no, really. And he was telling the story about like how he started getting onto this cleanse program, and then he'd worked for years running and doing everything else, and still kind of had that dad bod, still had that, you know, just wasn't there, right? And then all of a sudden, like 7 months later, just complete transformation. You know, I was just shocked. I'm like, I want that. Give me that. Right. And then the chat we had after that, once he got back home, was like, show me this cleanse and this diet program. Like, I've never been on a diet. I'm like, come on, look at this. I'm not overweight. I don't need a diet. That's one of my first thoughts. And then I started looking at my stomach. I'm like, maybe I do need a diet, you know, because I want to look like that. I want to have that washboard stomach. And then, yeah, it took a little while to get onto it because I was so busy and I couldn't really make the time for it. But once I started making the time for it, I mean, I've seen some pretty fast results myself, even although I don't have the washboard yet. I'm on the way to it, you know. But yeah, that's, and then of course, Paul's like, you got to meet my buddy Dave. Like, he's running the program, and he's got, you know, dozens of people, hundreds of people have gone through this thing. I'm like, okay, so it's not just one person who got this tremendous result, right? So yeah, I'm like, yeah, let's do more with this. I think that's actually part of where we started at too, Paul, was like trying to get the idea of like, okay, how do we bring health and, you know, business and the whole rethink philosophy, you know, to the table in a podcast format. And we had planned on doing this early, this whole rethink health thing with Dave, and we ended up going quickly into the business side with the podcasting launch, with the book and everything else. So yeah, I was like super impressed, you know, to see those results.
Yeah, maybe I'll show those. So especially for those looking on YouTube, hopefully we'll have it on the podcast as well by the time you see this. Now prepare yourself, because this is the before shot, the 5-month pregnant man. Let's bring it up here. So 23%, 74 kilos. What's that? About 170, 180 pounds. And most people say, yeah, I'm not, like, it's not outrageously bad. It's not obese or anything. However, the bit that is kind of, I suppose, frightening about that is that wasn't the output of being lazy. That was the output of having jogged every day for 7 years. I hadn't had any sugar in 5.5 years. I hadn't had any bread. I hadn't had any cheese in over 5 years. I had no French fries in 2.5 years. I was taking a cold shower, which, you know, is often said and stated to be way more powerful than any other type of exercise you can do for weight loss, for 3.5 years. So just that alone, the torture of that every day. And I'd been to the gym every day for a year and a half prior to that picture being taken. That's the bit that really catches people by surprise, you know, because when you see it before, you go, yeah, fair enough. You let yourself fall away over time, etc. But you know, it just I just have them all there on the same slide. But why I bring that up is I was really working hard to get in shape, and I think one of the key things here about when we talk about in Rethink Health all the time is just because you hear something often enough doesn't make it true. Right. For example, I mean, how could you possibly be overweight if you're jogging every day? How could you possibly be overweight jogging every day and not eating sugar and not eating bread and not eating cheese? Because, you know, how many of the bad stuff is really left over when you remove those? Now, I will say I did have an injured ankle in the lead up to that for 6 months, but it didn't stop me jogging. Right. And it didn't suddenly have me eating bread and cheese. You know, all those things remained. So something was missing for me. A friend of mine, Dan Martel, went through this program where it just something clicked when he said it, where he said, you have to stop thinking towards a deadline of, you know, someday I'm going to have a 6-pack, or someday I'm going to diet until this day when I look amazing. It's like, no, it's a complete identity change that you're going to keep this up. And look, to be fair, I'm persistent if nothing else. You know, I imagine 7.5 years in with the jogging and still going, yeah, I'm going to keep this up because I'm just missing something. But I did genuinely feel if someone else can do it, like for sure it's doable, but is it just a genetic thing? And then I saw a picture of my brother, and John got in amazing shape at one point, and I was like, oh, it's not a genetic thing. So I just wanted to figure out what that was. So I started on a program, and the irony was I was exercising less, right? So I was in the gym less, maximum 1 hour per session. I was encouraged to go back on sugar, bread, cheese, etc., but I didn't, right? But I was told you can if you want to, but I didn't. I said no, like let's not do that. But this is the before, and this is exactly 7 months later, when they're just pictures on my phone. Obviously, that's a fake tan, but the good news is that's all that's fake about it. We don't get weather like that too often in Ireland. And fortunately, my trainer actually that helped with that insisted, and Dave was there with me for it, insisted on booking a photo shoot because I was writing the book Rethink Habits at the time. He's like, you know, you're never going to regret being a little bit vain and having a photographer there, because just like when it's your wedding, you know you're going to be photoed on that day more than ever. So you're going to, when the going gets tough, and when you're faced with you're hungry some evening and you could easily eat something you shouldn't eat and no one will ever find out, you go, you know what, I'm only cheating on myself. So I ended up getting this professional photo shoot done with Dave there, because I had no idea how to pose or what to do or what with all this stuff. And so you just kind of get a feel for it. And I've never shared them on social media or anything like that because I don't know, I just have some sort of resistance to that. But at the same time, I have them all for when I start marketing the book. So you just to get a sense of them there. Yeah, and then this is my favorite picture, is I hadn't eaten pizza the entire life age of my younger daughter, so she couldn't believe what she was seeing. So that was my celebration after the photo shoot. So I broke my bread and cheese on the same day after giving them up for I don't know how many years. I said 5 and a bit, and I had chocolate for Easter Sunday a couple of weeks later. So and again, and this is, I think, might come back to this a little bit later. This, I think, is probably a much better picture. And I share this with a lot of our clients, because when you just see a before and after, and you're looking at your before and your present state is your after, you're like, I look nothing like him. So I think the progression pictures are actually really, really valuable to see, because every month on month, it's barely noticeable. I mean, if you look between even 1st of October and 1st of November there, it's like, well, I don't know, are those two abs, or are they just some sort of distortion you've got in your, right? You don't know. And it's not much clarity. And then they're gone in December. I'm like, oh, have I lost those two abs? And then they're back in January. So I've gone from September to January, which is October, November, December, 4 months at that stage. And okay, yeah, the belly is gone, but you still, I'm like, oh God, I'm starting to look really skinny. You know, it's easy to tell yourself a story. And then, you know, it's always a case of, you know, if it's working, and, you know, somebody smarter than you at what you're doing knows what they're doing, just keep it up. And then suddenly it's like there's turning point between January and February where, boom, out of nowhere, these things pop. And then February to March, more defined again. Then you can see why bodybuilders get the tan done, because you can see it makes it look even better again than pasty white. And then the interesting thing is, if you just keep looking beyond, like that was the lowest weight I was at, 1st of April, 4th of April, May, June, etc. It was still there, like completely at that stage that I suppose I felt was fairly unsustainable. And that's when, ironically, some of the real work begins. But you need to get to that point first before we even get to that part of the discussion. So those were the pictures I was sharing with George that got him really excited about this journey. And indeed, I don't know, we started to share this with the Rethink Academy audience, where we invited just small groups every time to come and join. And it was interesting to see, but, you know, more people would spend money on their health, thankfully, I was glad to see it, than they would potentially on how to run an online business type program. So, Dave, I suppose, in terms of the process that I went through, this might be a good actual overview that we could maybe chat about, and kind of a framing to share with people, because what exactly we did.
Yeah, the process. So
Yeah, so we started off with a cleanse.
yeah,
Then,
go on.
yeah, so I'll just do an overview, and then we'll get you to chat about it in detail. A 2-week cleanse, a fat burn, which, depending on where you are starting from, this can be quite extended. The goal at the end of it is that you get to the lowest body fat that you have been probably since you were a teenager. Basically what it is, it's, imagine like the emperor with no clothes. It's like you're trying to get down to see how much muscle do you actually have on your body, because nobody really knows until you strip the fat. So it's kind of work that you may have done in the past. If you've been like in the gym for years, etc., there's probably muscle there that just needs to be uncovered. Like it turned out for me. So all those days in the gym that I saw absolutely nothing at the time, suddenly when the fat came off, I was like, oh, there it is. There's all those sit-ups that I did years ago that, you know, I thought, you know, were lost in and nobody would ever know about them. And then once you get to that point, and be interesting to hear Dave chatting about this, but I know even in my face, etc., right, I looked very thin. I looked, you know, you clearly see a jawline that, you know, looked almost emaciated. And all that time, you know, Dave was saying, you know, that's to be expected. Like, don't worry about that. That's, you're not going to be staying in this condition. This is just to see what's there. And then the next stage is the rebuild. Is right, okay, now let's start to build your body to a point where you're going to be really happy with it all the time. And you slowly build your muscle up, and then you check on a much more regular basis, and nowhere near as dramatic as the first time. When you're cutting for months and months and months, you can just cut over a couple of weeks to see what do you look like now, and then you start to rebuild again. Because, you know, I don't know the science of this the way Dave would, but the point will be, you know, you cannot grow muscle when you're in a calorie deficit, which means you're eating less calories than you need to sustain your energy on a daily basis. But and likewise, if you want to grow muscle, you need to get to some kind of a calorie surplus, where you have these bonus calories knocking around, so that the extra protein and so on that you're eating is directed to the muscle build directly, so you can start to grow muscle. So let me, will I leave this screen up, or maybe I'll leave it up for a bit, Dave, as you kind of chat through these from your perspective and the emotional perspective of people going through this journey.
Yeah. So first of all, like, the one important thing always embedding into people's minds is, we all like when people would see Paul's photos. Like when George saw him, it's like, I want that. Just like everyone who's ever joined the program. So we always join these things based on the immediate and the short-term change we want. What's important, like Paul's a perfect example of it. Now, how long is it now, Paul? Was it a year and a half now?
Year ago. That photo shoot was a year ago, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's right, sure, April. So, like, that's a long time of living a good lifestyle, very committed, consistent with exercise, consistent with food. He has his reward days, but they're inbuilt in a committed fashion and a disciplined fashion. So it's having a long-term perspective with a short-term. And that's something that we embed into people's psyches throughout the Rethink Health program. But what's really important in starting off is to do like a cleanse. Because a lot of people will start into diets or systems or whatever things are out there, and they're straight onto, like, let's say, a restrictive calorie deficit type plan. But what they're not doing is not taking account of how has that person lived up to this point. What elements have made them have a very toxic body at this moment? What level of toxicity have they even got in their body at this moment? Because toxins are unavoidable. They're in the food, they're in the air, they're in the water, technology, stress, lack of sleep. Like, there's so many different factors will create toxins. Medication's another big one that everyone will have had at some stage in their life. Some people have had a lot. And the thing with toxins is, if you don't get rid of the toxins, you're minimizing your potential for success dramatically. Okay, dramatically. So it's really important. I always call it like a wall. You're trying to get rid of the toxin wall. So in the cleanse, that's what we're trying to do. And the weight loss can be dramatic, even on people who don't look like they have a lot of weight to lose. And this is another part of the training, to be focused on your body shape, your tape measurements, your photos, your clothes, your energy, and all those factors, because they're real measurements, whereas weight can fluctuate depending on where you're at and what's going on with your body, and male and females and so on. So people on the cleanse in 14 days, there's been people who've lost, 14, 15, 20 pounds even. And some of them haven't even looked like they had a lot to lose. And they're, God, I'm surprised I lost that much. But like I stressed to them, that's the toxins coming out. We're taking the wall out. And when that wall and blocker is taken out, when you then go on to, let's call it like a normal plan or phase 2, now you're going to get the maximum results from it. Because like I said, we've taken out that blocker. So it's a really crucial thing to do. And it's very important to do it in the right way. There are lots of detoxes out there, lots of cleanses out there. There are some that are decent, but there's a lot that are just ironically toxic in terms of just having you taking lots of different shakes, and there's loads of chemical ingredients in them and so on. And yes, you will lose weight, but you're losing it because you're just not eating. So you're not taking in calories. So of course you're going to lose weight. But a lot of the time that weight loss is just water, it's muscle, it's bone. It's not fat, which is what you're trying to lose, or the toxins to get out of your system. So that's our initial phase. And then basically after that, then it's a case, again, going on to the fat burning. An important philosophy that we have that's crucial is, when people are trying to get in shape, they're always thinking of deprivation. They're always thinking that they need to be so restrictive, that they have to have so few calories. We start at a certain level of calories that isn't super restrictive, depending on what way you're coming into it. You're eating quite a lot of food. You're actually eating quite frequently. It's kind of counterintuitive compared to what a lot of people would think you would do and how many calories you could eat. But the reason is that we need to get your body working at the way it's designed. Like, our bodies are designed to be like metabolic fat burning machines. Okay, so it's like if you're starting, let's say, 1,200 calories, it's a case of working towards where you get to the end where you can take 2,000, 2,500, 3,000 calories into your body. You still look amazing, you feel lean, you look toned, you look muscular, you're fit, you're healthy, and all those benefits. So we're actually going in the reverse. You're actually getting more calories in as the process goes on versus less. So you start at a certain level of calories, and the goal is, like Paul was saying, to uncover the fat. Get yourself as lean as possible. And why not, for one time in your life, see exactly what the potential is when your fat is as low as possible. So we encourage people to get to that level. Just like Paul got down to 3.7%. And like, he'll never probably get to that level again. He won't want to probably go down to that level again. But the thing is, then from there, you want to keep then a level of, somewhere between 6 and 10% for a guy, somewhere between maybe 17 to 20% for a female. And then you're always going to have abs to some degree. You're always going to be lean, healthy, and so on. And what we're doing then is, as I said, making your body become the metabolic machine it's designed to, and also building lean muscle. Now, for females, because females always get really scared when they hear about muscle. To build muscle to a significant level, you have to have a lot of testosterone. And this is why even for a lot of guys, they never get like massive. Like, it makes me laugh the way people say, oh, I never want to get massive now. I don't want to get like a bodybuilder. It takes so much effort, to gain muscle in a proper way, because you have to have a certain level of testosterone, you have to have the nutrition right, you have to have the hydration right, you have to have the training right, you have to have the sleep right. So it's getting those ingredients right. And like for females have a certain level of testosterone, mainly estrogen. So even if you're on a program, again, that's going to be for building muscle, which is what our goal is, you're going to build toned muscle, lean toned muscle. You're not going to get massive. For males, then you'll vary in terms of to what level and to what speed you'll build muscle in terms of actual size. Okay? So you'd be like, for instance, like Paul's frame. So Paul, as you can see in photos, looks really incredible, and he's gaining muscle now because that's what our goal is. Stay lean, gain muscle. Both he and I would have similar body types that way, which is typically called like hard gainers, which means genetically we don't put on muscle very easily, but if we do the right things, you can. And this is another important thing on the program. And these are the things that separate it from everything else that's out there. There's a program, but also I'm personalizing things to your situation, because everyone's got different genetics, everyone's got different types of lifestyle, everyone's got a different kind of history leading up to the point of joining the program. Like, we've had people join the program who are already in good shape. Maybe, let's say if it's a guy, 15% body fat, looks pretty good, but he can never get six pack. So our goal is to get him down to six pack. Just as much as someone who's 25, 30 stone, they're really under health risks. They've got every condition, diabetes, blood pressure, cholesterol, everything, had a heart attack and so on. So there's every kind of level a person has come into this and does come into it. You have to kind of meet people where they're at as well. So that's a very important part of it. So while we have a program and there's certain philosophies and principles around it that are really key, things then get personalized depending on the individual. Even things like stress levels, what your sleeping habits like. Someone has kids, doesn't have kids. These things have a factor. And this is why, as I said, Rethink Health program is very different to everything else out there. Because most programs, you pay for a program, you get the program, and it's like, okay, there you go. This is the before and after. There's your journey. Go do the program. But if you don't have the personalization, if you don't have the support, don't have the accountability, it's very easy to fall off track. And for me, some of the most satisfying results we've had, because obviously physical results are amazing, health results are amazing, but what's actually some of the most satisfying is when someone on the program has fallen off to a big degree or a small degree for, let's say, a few days or a week or 2 weeks, and they get back on again. Because that's the key. Because this is why I'm constantly embedding into people the word lifestyle. Because it's not a diet. Whereas when you're on a diet, your mentality is, if you fall, you either have to do it exactly or there's no point. So when people fall off track when they're on a diet, usually they fall off a cliff. They don't get back on again. They get back on again when they feel disgusted in themselves to a level enough that they go and do some other program. Whereas what I'm training people to do is, you're a human being, you're led by emotions, you're not necessarily going to be perfect, no one really is in any way, but we're aiming for progress all the time and developing and evolving. The key thing is that if you fall off, why'd you fall off? Learn a lesson from it, move forward empowered, so the next time that exact same situation or circumstance arises, you're more empowered to deal with it in a more positive way and just get back on track. And that's actually the most satisfying thing for me. And it's happened with a few people even recently where they fell off for a week, 2 weeks, but they're back on it again now. Whereas most people fall off a cliff. So it's a lifestyle journey. It's like, even for myself, again, go back to what I said. When I was 17, I started my journey. I lived what I thought was a good lifestyle. It wasn't when I really looked at it. Even when I was doing what I thought were the right things, which were much better, they still weren't the right things to get the results. And then I had to learn how to personalize and learn about sleep and hydration and stress and all these different things. So it's a journey. It's about evolving. That's why I always say it's about being committed. Like, if you want positive change, especially around your health and well-being, it's about being committed to evolving into a better version of yourself. And I stress the word better because there is no best. We can keep evolving. Like, I've been evolving for 31 years. Every single day, every week, how can I get better, better, better? Because you can always get better, which is great. That's the exciting thing about life and this type of journey, especially around health. And as Paul touched on a while ago, health has such a profound impact on all areas of your life. Like I always say, if you get control of your mind, body, and health, that area, it has a catalytic impact on every single area of your life. Because if you're in a better place yourself, mentally, physically, emotionally, general health wise, your relationships are going to be better. Your professional life's going to be much better, whatever that looks like. Your financial health's going to be better because you're in a better place, better energy. Your brain's working better. Everything's working better. You're at your optimal. And this is why I stress in members all the time. Our goal is to create the body that it was designed to be, which is to work optimally, which is to metabolize food and nutrients optimally, fast. And that's why you get to say you're actually eating more food, not less food. So it's not about deprivation. You're actually eating quite a lot of food. People are quite shocked at how much food you're eating actually. But what's key is the structure of it. With food, it's about the time you eat, what you eat, the quantity you eat. They're the things that really matter. So when people even say about, like calories, you could have 1,200 calories, which is like a chocolate bar, a milkshake, and a McDonald's big meal. Or it could be, a stir fry, a salad, and some healthy dinner or something. It's not about the calories. It's about the type of calories. But the timing is so important as well. So like in terms of the program, you have different phases, and the different phases are depending on how your body is transforming. And also, like I said, the psychology aspect's really important because everyone coming into it will have different scripts, different patterns, different associations, different limiting beliefs. We need to work on all that as well. We're hitting all angles. It's not just the physical. It's not just nutrition. It's sleep. It's stress management. It's self-management. Because remember, it's not time management. It's self-management. And it's embedding that word lifestyle onto your brain. So that if you fall off, or when you fall off more likely, because we're human beings, you get back on again. You're actually looking forward to getting back on again. That's the great thing about it. And also, it's like even Paul, like for you, I'm sure when you had that pizza and you had the Easter egg, as enjoyable as it was at the time, I'm sure you didn't feel too cool after it or the next day. And you probably had an eagerness to get back on again. And that's the thing again, when you change the way you think and your association around food and exercise and lifestyle, you break out and have your rewards, as we call them, but you want to get back on track again. You have an eagerness to get back on track because you know how good it feels, and nothing feels better than good health. So we're constantly, as I said, embedding that into people's minds because that's really important.
Well, for me, the reason I wanted to share this wasn't actually the result that I received or photographed on 4th of April. It was what happened afterwards. You can lose weight a lot faster, by the way, than the pace I lost it at. Like, there was a very specific reason why it was done slow and steady. Was it gives your body a chance to adapt to the new lifestyle, to this different way of eating, to eating more, ironically, than I was eating beforehand. Like that's the huge irony. Not necessarily on the way down in my calorie deficit phase, but you do it slowly. You do it so it's not a huge shock to the body. Yes, the cleanse is for sure that the cleanse is a shock, but it's also a huge win because you drop 10 pounds to 20 pounds, possibly even more in 2 weeks, which everybody loves to see. And then there's a lot of that, of course, like you said, Dave, is toxins, and it's just water that's been sitting there for years in many cases. But once you get to that point where you take the time to lose that weight, to get down to that low point, it's not like a diet where the big reward is on completion of the diet. Boom! I look great. Let's go crazy, and then let's go back to pre-diet conditions. It's actually because you've taken the time to get to that. Your body now has changed. So especially if you're really overweight, sometimes you see people that have to get surgery to get like overhanging skin and such taken off surgically. If you lose weight too fast, you don't give your skin, which is an organ, the largest organ in the body, the chance to adapt to the new way that you are. So a lot of the time, what's happening is this, and you even notice it in those pictures with the phase progression, is the belly skin is starting to tighten up over time, right? Because it's used to in out after every meal. What became strange was after a while when you're eating meals and your stomach doesn't change, it doesn't go out, right? That for me was kind of strange to watch. But the biggest win is at the end of this, now you've retrained your body to know that this is how I normally am going to be. So you can have a bad day. You're going to have a bad day. Of course, you're in a bad couple of days. You might have a bad 3 days, 4 days, whatever it is. But the moment you flick the switch back to going back to eating the same amount of calories, you don't suddenly try to eat less to make up for it. Nothing like that. You go straight back to what you should be. Your body, after about 2 days, completely adjusts. You eject the bonus material that isn't required in there, and boom, you're done. And it was funny you said that about the pizza and the Easter egg. I hadn't thought about that in a while. Well, my body completely rejected that pizza. Like that was that whole. I didn't put on any weight with that. I was like, okay, what the hell is this? Get out. Same with the Easter egg. This isn't staying in. You're out. So it was almost like, yeah, you can have those rewards because there isn't room for this to be hanging around. And the more muscle that you have, the less fat that you have. You're just a fat burning machine. You're like, oh, come on, fat, come in here, like do your best. And this is I mean, we'll talk about it later. Especially, I know we talk about this a lot. With females, look at the weighing scales a lot more than men for obvious, well, not for obvious reasons actually. It's not obvious at all, but ladies, it's unfortunate, but you could be doing the exact same work as a guy in a gym and you're seeing no benefit on the weighing scales, while a man will. Like it'll continue to drop. Even though changes are happening for you, you don't see it metrically unless you're measuring dimensions. But weight is a very crude measure of success in that way. But to my point in all of this is that once you go through that process once, your reward is permanent. Your reward is permanent. You can, and we'll talk about this in due course, but there's even built into the program, like if you know you're going out for a big dinner, if you know you're going out and you're going to have a lot of alcohol that evening, there's very specific protocols that you follow. I never knew this. Like there were very specific protocols that you follow to minimize the damage you do. And I'll just give you an example of one. So for example, if I knew I was going out with friends, there's going to be a big night, there's going to be a lot of alcohol involved, you stop water at noon. Right, which is so counterproductive because you hear the opposite, like drink so much water, eat a big massive meal before all this type of stuff. The protocol is that no, you've had your 2 liters by noon, that's it, no more water now, and no more carbs after noon, because the drink that you're going to drink later will make up and some for the carbs, right? The sugar is going to take that place. So you can have this guilt-free meal, guilt-free night out, and then the next morning, assuming you're in decent shape, just to completely top and tail it, you get up and you do a fasted cardio for 20 minutes. So your body immediately burns off any excess sugars that have stayed in your body from the alcohol the night before. And I'm not recommending you all do this, but because I measure myself every day, I always find my body fat drops by about 1% after a night out drinking, which is like huge. Now it will come back a slight little bit the next day, but of course it does because your heart rate is higher. You're burning more fat than you would normally. It's like a big cardio workout. It's like the benefits that nobody speaks of having a night out. But if you do it correctly, it certainly doesn't send you backwards, which was amazing to me because everything is so black and white with fitness in a lot of ways. Like, no, sugar is bad, the end. Alcohol is bad, the end, just stop it. When I said, well, okay, I'm put my hand up and say I haven't had sugar, in like 7 years, and look how I turned out, right? So it's all about nuance is what I find, rather than like specific black and white, like you say. And you mentioned that earlier. It's like every single person has their own history, their own challenges, their own stuff that, it is personal to them. But the blueprint in general seems to work for pretty much everybody, right? Once they stick to it, of course, is the key point.
Exactly. And that's the thing, and that's a key part of as well, the education side. And it's like the realization you had there in terms of like with sugar, there's good sugar, there's bad sugar, there's good fat, there's bad fat. But in the world and in the fitness health industry, it's just thrown out there as fat is bad, sugar is bad. But again, the type you have, the quantity you have, the timing of it, like that protocol of like if you're going on a night out, that's going to be a hell of a lot of sugar, cut your carbs early in the day. Like there's strategies around this. And that's where, again, it comes back as well to your thought process that, you're going to accept, okay, I'm going to have that. That's going to be my reward. It's going to be, I'm going out, I'm going to have fun, going to have whatever number of drinks. Next morning, I'm going to do a bit of fasted cardio, and then I'm back on it again. And this where, again, goes back to like the lifestyle. And this is where it's working again on the psychological point of view for people as well. And key, again, is everyone's at different points. Paul came into this at a certain point. Me, even at 17, I came in at a certain point. George, you come in at a certain point. Everyone comes at different points. And the thing is, the framework of the program works amazing. It's just like that, the nuances, the little tweaks that need to be done. And I always stress to people, one of the biggest important aspects of it is learning how to navigate life situations. Because you can be following the best program on the planet ever for get results and whatever, but when life hits and when stress hits, and that can be good stress or bad stress, because it'll both affect you in the same way and take your time and have to manage your schedules and so on. But how you react in that time is what's really key. So it's very important again to learn how to navigate situations. It's like members will contact me and go, hey, I have to go on we have a business meeting and a big event, there's a dinner with it. You know, I want to stick and plan. How do I stick and plan? Like, there's always a solution. So might be a case of finding out what's the menu. These events typically will have a menu. Then they'll send it to me. I'll look through it. I'll say what to have, or I'll tell them here, get back to them and tell them, could you do this little tweak? Most places, whether it be hotels, restaurants, cafes, typically will be pretty accommodating. You just say, look, I have certain dietary habits, certain dietary needs, whatever way you want to put it, and they'll typically accommodate you. But the key part is you actually opening your mouth to do that, not hiding behind the excuse of, oh, I had to go to an event, or, oh, there was a wedding, or, oh, there was a christening, or it's my birthday, or whatever it might be. The key thing, again, is working around these situations. And it's the same thing, again, with your treat meal or reward meal, whatever way you want to call it. Again, it's building that in, because it's important to do that, because if you're, for instance, really craving something on a Wednesday, but your treat day is on a Saturday, it's much easier then to kind of go, look, I'll wait a few days and I'll enjoy it much more then, and it builds into your lifestyle. Whereas, go back to what I was saying about diets. Typically diets, it's like, okay, you can't have this for 12 weeks, 90 days, whatever it may be. Like Bart Simpson with the red button, when you're told don't do something, what do you do? Or if you're told don't have something, what do you want? So I say don't have any chocolate now for the next 12 weeks. You want chocolate now. And it's going to be on your mind. And even if you stick it out, you're going to go crazy on the chocolate when it eventually ends. Because subconsciously you're thinking 12 weeks. And when you hit that day, it's like, thank God. And then you're off having loads of chocolate or alcohol, wherever it may be. And this is why, again, I go back to the word lifestyle. I always say to people at the start, you're going to be sick to death of hearing me say the word lifestyle. But I need to embed it in your psyche. Because, like again for Paul, he has a lifestyle. He still has his nights out. He'll have his trips away. He'll have his treats. But he's back on it the next day. And that's because he's tuned into the fact that this is a lifestyle. And he has the balance. And we have to have that balance. And like I said too, if you fall off, you just get back on again. Like I stress to people. And again, this again goes back to the diet mentality. And this is why, again, the way we do things is so different. When people are on plans, systems, and so on, again, it's either you're perfect or there's no point. So when they fall off, they fall off. Whereas again, learn the lesson. Why did I fall off? Why did I do that? Why did I have 10 bars of chocolate at 12 o'clock? You know, maybe someone triggered you. Okay, well, next time they trigger you, because it's going to happen again unless you wipe them out of your life, how am I going to react more positively? Maybe you go for a walk or something, get the hell out of the house so you don't go for the chocolate. Like, you just decide something that's empowering. So it turns what typically is a negative situation and a cliff fall into something that's actually positive and a learning. And you move forward more empowered. So that's what I'm saying. It's all rewiring. We're changing your physical health and exercise. We're changing your associations with food, but also rewiring the brain and your thought process. And this is everybody. I'm the same. I'm constantly rewiring my brain. I have my own triggers, associations, scripts, patterns. We all do. We all do throughout our lives. Like, from conception, we're basically being influenced by our environment from conception. So we're constantly working on that. This is why I say be committed to evolving the better version of yourself, because that's what it's about, evolving. And again, there's nothing again better than health. You know, it's like for Paul, he feels very different now than he did before he started the program. Same for me versus 31 years ago. George versus before he started. Everyone has ever gone through the program. But like I said, there's a process that works, and then it's personalized depending on what your situation or things that come up in the middle, because life throws curveballs. How are you going to react to the curveball? That's again where support is so key. Having support is absolutely invaluable. And to me, actually, it's the most valuable part of the program, as well as obviously the education aspect.
It's interesting. I think I learned the most during the cleanse for a number of reasons. One is like how hard it was for me to like stay on it, because I really needed to be planning for this, because I had to take a trip and it was late and there was no grocery store to go get the food that I needed to eat, you know, because there's a specific diet of things that you have to, you know, eat. I never was hungry through the whole process, like never hungry at all. because it's always kind of like you can eat as much as you want because it doesn't mess you up. And so I had no problem with that. And I still went from 176 when I started and went down. I'm 160, 161 now. So I've lost about 16 pounds, give or take a pound, because I noticed that everything is shifting like a pound, half a pound a day, and I just keep going down and down and down, even though I've been off the cleanse now for about a week or so. But I fell off that wagon at least twice. I'd get through, literally, I got to like day 12 and I had to go out and eat. And I'm like,
No.
crap. All right. I said, I don't
Oh,
mind.
dear.
I'll start back over. So I literally, it was like 6 weeks. So I took a 14-day cleanse. I turned it into 6 weeks. And what I found is halfway through it,
Typical Mark
I,
there.
yeah, exactly. I'm an overcheater, right? Um, I found out how important salt was to my body. I had no idea because we always hear, high blood pressure, you don't want to eat salt when you get older or whatever scenario was. I had deprived myself of salt because part of the cleanse is no spices. They say, bland is all get out, right? Food. I don't mind. I eat a lot of veggies anyway. So, but I was eating that and I had no salt, no spices, no nothing. And I would say about 3 weeks in, because I had passed the 14-day window and I was going into like fourth week almost on this, I got vertigo so bad. I depleted my all the salt in my body. I mean, it's terrible. It was like 3 days of vertigo. So I didn't realize how important that was to me. And so I had to add that back in because I think later on you can add the salt back in. But I kept going back. And so it was like I would add very small amount of salt, but then I would go right back off to the salt. So it was like there was no salt in my body at all at
Yeah.
that point in time.
Let's just stick to 14 days next time.
Yeah. And it's like
Stick to the plan, right?
But it's like on that point, it's the same like I said earlier with sugar and like fats. It's like even salt, lots of different types of salt, lots of different quality of salt. Proper salt is good for you, and you don't even need a lot. You need a pinch, and it's more than enough in terms of for flavor, and also obviously it's good for your body. And like our salt balance in our body is really crucial because people can literally die if it goes the wrong level. That's what happens when someone drops dead in a marathon. It's usually what it is. It's the salt balance is wrong. So like this where again, it's tuning. Another big part too is like tuning into yourself. Like someone like we could have 3 other people, George, who did the exact same as you. Like I mean, exactly the same as you, and they didn't get vertigo. One got way worse, and someone else got like some other kind of impact of it. So this where again, you have to always tune into what is going on in my body. How is my body reacting to this? It's like even one person on the program there last week. She made homemade brownies, and she had 3 of them. And she actually ended up vomiting after it. And I was there, and it was on the call actually just the other day, our weekly coach call. And I was there, that's fantastic. And she was there, what do you mean that's fantastic? I said, well, again, you had the 3, your body rejected it. It goes, what the hell is this? And got it the hell out of you, which is amazing. But one, you won't be tempted to have brownies tomorrow, will you? Or probably not for a while. But also when you do have them again, because no harm having them again, especially if they're homemade. Obviously, they're much better, a few ingredients. You're going to stop at 1. It's going to be very unlikely you're going to stop it. You're going to go to 2 or 3 because you know what's going to happen. And also your body's going to be even cleaner by then. And this is where you actually get so much more enjoyment out of your treats and rewards. And also your treats and rewards become even actually healthier. You don't want to have the really crappy things. It's like even
That's
for
a
me,
fact.
see, I'm mad into chocolate. Like I
That's a
love
fact.
chocolate. I'd eat someone if they're chocolate kind of thing, right? That's always been my thing. Cakes, ice cream, chocolate, whatever. If I was to have, let's say, chocolates, cocoa below 50%, disgusting. Just way too sweet. I eat a little bit of 85% every day, like mainly for health benefits, but where it tasted disgusting initially when I started a year and a half ago, now it actually tastes quite nice. And I make my own treats, and I rarely even want to have them anymore. But if I want to have something, I have something that's decent. So it's still a treat, but it's not as bad an impact as it would have been a year or 2 ago. And I could have polished off bars and bars of chocolate or cakes before. So your taste buds change over time, but you actually enjoy your rewards more than you ever did before, eating less and eating healthier. So this where again it's counterintuitive. It's like Paul was saying and I was saying a while ago, you actually end up eating more calories on the program as time goes on, as your body's adjusting, as you become more and more of a metabolic furnace, basically, which is amazing because usually it's all about restriction, deprivation. And like I said, when you feel that way, you're only going to last that so long. When you break, you're going to break. And this is why, again, it's easier to keep going with it and get back on when you fall off. So it's like that, just with the salt. There's good and there's bad, just like there is with everything.
Yeah, that makes sense for sure. It's like you also have a little bit of time because you have to prepare your food, as opposed to like you have to cut up the carrots and the broccoli and stuff like that and prepare it. And because it's even though it's not really cooked, it's all a lot of this is raw. You still have to prepare it, so you have to have that time. You have to kind of build in a little bit of time to say, hey, I'm not going to run. That's why the fast food is terrible because it's fast, and fast comes with all the other stuff. Like, how do they make it so fast? Right.
It's like Uber Eats and all that, Deliveroo and all your equivalents. Like if you take before, when we were, say, 20 years ago, if you wanted fast food, you went to the fast food outlet, you told them what you wanted, you waited till they had it ready, and you got it and went. Now you can be sitting on the toilet, go on your phone, and order a 2-for-1 Uber Eats. And they always have all that attractive 2-for-1. So people are not only eating crap, but are eating double the crap because they're getting it for the same price. So this where again, you have to change your habits. You have to change again your associations with food, because that's what it's about. And remember, we're constantly marketed to. There's constant conditioning, and that's where I'm saying, we're being impacted all the time. So once you're aware of that, you can keep working around that and working against that, and learning and how you work, how your body works, and what you want. And it comes down again to prioritizing, like you're saying there, George, in terms of time to prepare. For most people, that's a big shock to people. And in reality, it actually annoys quite a lot of people because they're, geez, man, I've spent so much time cutting up bloody veggies. I haven't time for this. But the only reason they're finding such a struggle is before they weren't prioritizing their health. They were doing other stuff. But when you start doing it, and I always say to them, once you do this for a period of time, you will fast track your process, and you'll actually be able to do way more and way quicker, and you will actually learn to enjoy it. Because you're enjoying the process. Chopping up dad is doing this for me, for my body, for my health. Every aspect of the process you actually really enjoy because you want to feel the best you possibly can. And nothing feels better in good health.
Yeah, I would say I agree. If you don't prioritize your health, you're prioritizing convenience. That's just how it is. And I had all the excuses in the world. I don't know many people who fly 100 times a year, right? So every city is different, like literally different. So a big shout out, by the way, to Alan Dick, who I haven't mentioned yet, whose tagline is "Trusted Dick," best tagline ever. But it was Alan's program that I started on initially after Dan Martell. And sometimes you need a stranger, right? Sometimes you need someone you don't know, just to give you that kick up the backside that you've no emotional connection to. No, he'll understand because he knows me. And as part of what he was doing with Dan, they said, and he had a 16-day cleanse, and we walked through those different phases. They said, hey, look, you're able to take this and to go and teach this yourself if you wish, right? That original program that he did with Dan. And that's where I said, oh, there's a huge opportunity here, because I was paying, $6,000 a year for that. And for me, knowing the people that I work with, that's just mostly out of their reach, right? I mean, it's a great excuse not to get healthy. Oh, that's too expensive. All right, that's okay. That's why they're wealthy, get healthier, and blah, 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 blah. And I was like, no. We can definitely do this in a way where, I mean, Dave has literally been teaching the same stuff for decades. But sometimes, like I say, you need to just get hit from the other side and see the same thing from a different perspective. And then I took all the parts that I felt that I would have loved to have seen in there and mixed it so that it was way more affordable for everybody, but without missing out on any of the key components. But a couple of things that Alan always talked about was even when you're going on vacation, right? You shouldn't have any guilt. Right. And the irony is people that even aren't dieting are feeling guilty as they splurge while they're away. And he's like, no. The whole point of this is that there's no guilt associated when you're away. You have a routine. You're going to adapt it now. You're not going to be chopping up by the way, I don't chop up carrots and celery and that type of stuff, in case you think that's a must do. I just have the stuff in the fridge that I know I'm going to eat. You want to make it as boring as possible. Right, it's really predictable. Yes, you're eating the same stuff every day, but your body likes that. Your body likes to know, oh, this is the routine now. Oh, right, this isn't massive overly eat, then go starve. Then, like I'd done intermittent fasting for 7 years. In addition to all the other things that I was doing. So it's actually about just making your choices more dull. So when I So to go back to the point about the holidays, when you're on holidays, once you get into this rhythm of you're used to what you eat, it's easier for you to make the right choices because you're okay. Breakfast time, I need to eat within an hour of waking up. Okay, what are the choices here? Oh, there's eggs. Perfect. Have they got oatmeal? They've got oatmeal. Okay, perfect. Now you've already nailed that meal because you're in a hotel and that's available to you, and you start to look for the closest alternative, and that's good enough when you're on vacation, right? You're sticking to close, but you can still go over the top. But because you've done the work, your body will recover that following week anyway. So it's like a freebie for you, right? Nobody stays on permanent holiday or certainly in that mode all of the time. So that allows you to go and truly enjoy the benefits of what you've just created for yourself. And the other thing I would say is when you travel, what I found, and this could be one of the benefits of Uber Eats or Deliveroo, the audience or the customers, let's say, there is a big shift towards people wanting organic food, towards people wanting healthier food. So it's highly likely on your Uber Eats app or Deliveroo app that there are organic healthy options available that you can get delivered. So don't neglect those. Like, don't forget those. Just because maybe you're reaching for that app, you normally associate it with pizza or whatever it might be, or curries. There are really amazing options that you can get delivered. And what I found when I traveled to cities, and I think George, I don't know, George, I tell you this or not, but certainly other people in the mastermind were impressed when they were like, "What are you eating?" And I was like, "Oh, before I come to the city, this is in Dallas, I just check out local organic food companies that deliver your food. Let's say you order it on the Saturday, and if you're there for the week, they'll deliver on the Sunday night and they'll deliver again on the Wednesday. And you pick your meals. They're all calorie adjusted. You can literally choose what you want. So you can have salmon, and you can have beef, and you can have whatever vegetarian, vegan, whatever you want. And they're delivered to you, and you just keep them in the fridge in your room. So suddenly, the more benefits you're seeing and the better you're looking, the more you want to keep it, and the less you want to cheat. But you have to cheat. Like Alan's always about, like, he really gets annoyed about, trust the dick, you better cheat, right? Because you feel like you're going backwards if you have on your 7th day or whatever day you choose. And he always says, pick the same day like you do, Dave. Do the same day every week, because your body gets used to, oh, here's cheat day. We're going to have an extra 300-400 calories. Your body just needs that extra little bit of pressure to be put on itself, that it doesn't become too accustomed to getting lazy. It's like, Dave, when you talk about your gym routine, it needs to be adapted fairly regularly, or your muscles start to get used to this exact same thing, and it needs a slightly new angle to just create the that new sense of pain that you have afterwards, or new sense of recovery. So thoughts on any of that, George or Dave?
Yes, it's same nutritionally, like you were saying there. Like, it is good to reboot your body and give it a shock, because the body can just tick along and it's boring for it, and it doesn't get stimulated. Then you suddenly throw in not necessarily crap food, but different food, and it's like, what the hell? It has to do something different. So it's really important from that aspect. So it's actually good for your body and your results to cheat, let's call it. But also, again, the psychological aspect. No one's going to be perfect all the time. We have things we like. Like I said, I like cake, ice creams, chocolate. Other people like to have their few glasses of wine. Other people like savory meals, whatever it might be. Psychologically, it's good to have that inbuilt. And it's, everything in life, no matter what area of life you want to improve on, discipline and consistency is such a key part of it. And having your treat reward is part of that discipline. It's like, for me, my times is usually Friday evening, and then Sunday if I feel like something. Fridays and always, Sundays are sometimes. And that's just part of my routine. And I look forward to Friday evening, because I know I'll have done all my workouts, stuck to my nutrition Monday to Friday evening. That'll be my meal then. So I'm replacing my usual meal with a more calorific, higher fat, nicer meal, or it could be more sugary if it's a desserty type thing. And then I'm back on again Saturday, and then Sundays can be probably about 70-80% day, then back on it Monday. And I'm in that, again, psychologically, I'm in that process. It's what's happening. This is how I live. I can go back to the lifestyle side. So it's actually so good for you to treat reward. It's so important. It's not good. This is where, again, go back to what I said about the diets. Usually, again, it's don't do this, don't have this, cut it all out. Yeah. Once you're told that you want it, you're making it doubly hard. And also as well, this is why it's so important always, when you're trying to improve your lifestyle, focus on adding, not taking away. Because when you're focused on taking away, again, it's negative energy. Focus on adding, it's positive energy. And the things that you need to take away will start to drop away anyway as you start to add. So it's down to the psychology and doing things in a realistic way, a slower way. Like Paul said, you can do things much faster in 7 months. Like if you really want to, you didn't care about your health or the future or nothing or your bones or anything, I'd get you to drop crazy weight in like a month and be transformed. But the repercussions are going to be shown in the future. So that's why we focus on short term, and you get fast results, but the long term is far more important. So we're getting both of them. And I said that's why your psychology is really important.
I was going to ask about peptides and stuff like that, and supplementation. I'm not to that part of the program yet, but what are your thoughts, Dave, on like the surge and everyone's like, I got to get this peptide and that peptide and this peptide, and then how do you incorporate supplementation for people?
Yeah, I think like it's getting such a minefield, that whole area, and it's become such a gigantic industry, especially supplement industry. Like I remember I came across protein shake the first time when I was 17, and remember Tony Quinn, Paul. Tony, I don't know if we globally probably known at this stage, but that was the first kind of protein shake in Ireland, and that's all it was, only product. Now look how many products every supplement company sells. So it's a gazillion-dollar industry. So what I always say to people in regard to supplement is a huge percentage of them are absolutely garbage and a waste of money and just expensive urine. What's really important is to focus on ones that are more whole food or at least less ingredients. Because if you look at the back of many products, not just whey protein, but like there's pre-workouts, post-workouts, there's ZMAs, there's so many different products out there. The list of ingredients, you wouldn't even be able to pronounce some of the words. There's about 30, 40 letters in some of them, and it's all consonants. So like look for things. The same like with food. Learn to read food labels. Less ingredients means it's better. Like, what is this meant to be? If it's meant to be protein, okay, where's that coming from? Okay, what are these other 20 things? What could that be? Usually, again, it's just chemicals, additives to make it taste nice and so on. So I think the most important thing with supplements is, one, making sure it's more whole food, less ingredients, so it's close to nature as it can be. Obviously, supplement, it can't be perfect in terms of it's not literally food, but it's convenient. Go back to like what Paul said there about Uber Eats, and equivalent is really good because that's so true. It's just having the discipline to go on and pick the right things versus the wrong things. But with supplements as well, another thing is people use them incorrectly in that they use them as part of the nutrition plan, as opposed to the word supplement means you supplement, which means get the nutrition right, then add in the supplements that you need. So let's say if someone will never eat anything that contains essential fats, whether it be oily fish or nuts or nut butters or seeds or any of that kind of stuff, depending on what way you eat. No way will you eat any essential fats type food at all. You need essential fats. Your brain needs it, your body needs it, your skin needs it, many functions. You need to take an essential fat supplement then. If, for instance, you wouldn't eat any green of any kind, you just won't touch a green product of any kind, you need a green powder. So it should be a case of get your nutrition as good as possible. That's the primary thing. That's the foundation. And when that's really, really good and you're not going to make it too much better, add things in then that you need that you're not getting otherwise. So because people's mentality is they'll take these supplements and that's going to do the work. They're a complete waste of money if you're not doing the right nutrition and you're not doing the right exercise. So it's like someone hiring a PT. A lot of times they hire a PT and in their brain, oh, I'm going to get the results now because I have a PT. Forgetting I have to actually put in the bloody work. The work is what's going to do it. The PT is only a guide. That's all, guide and support and educator. So it's the same like with supplements. You have to have the basics right and then add the supplements. And like I said, keep things as natural as possible. It can't be 100% natural, but as close you possibly can. So in terms of the whole supplement world, just, again, be wary, learn to read labels and learn to add in what you need versus wasting basically money on stuff you don't need, which is the case for a lot of people.
We've been kind of like going down this middle-aged men and women road, right? Because we're like, hey, I want that, right? But at least in the United States, for some time now, there's been this epidemic of obesity in kids. And I'm wondering how this all works out for kids that maybe are just, they're becoming a little slothful, right? They're just hanging out, playing video games, or maybe take the video games out of it. They're just not doing anything. They're not motivated to do anything, whether they're like 12 years old or they're like 24, still living at home with no ambition. Like, how does is there a certain age range where this works better for or not, or are there certain dangers at certain ages as people are still kind of growing into their bodies?
Great question. Like, that's one of the biggest changes in the world now. Same as diseases. Kids getting cancer, diabetes, and so on. Like, that was unheard of 20 years ago. And again, it goes back again, look at the way people are living. One, in terms of the food people are eating, which most people, it's not even food. inactivity, being sedentary. Most people now have some form of transport to get to work, school, or wherever. They're sitting down in their ass all day because, again, whether it be school, college, or work, type of work has totally changed. And as you said, recreation now has become much more, whether it be social media or gaming or that kind of thing, versus being outside. Like if I wasn't asleep or eating, I was out playing. I was playing football. That was my life. So even though we didn't have a great lifestyle nutritionally, I was burning it off all the time. So I'd never stop moving. I walked to school, all that kind of stuff. So in terms of the age thing, I've always encouraged get kids into exercise as young as possible, because even take if they're not overweight or anything, give them a positive association with exercise. If you take our age group, right, when people have to go exercise, say there's a wedding, a holiday, whatever, it's like, oh Christ, I have to go exercise. Like there's such negative energy around it. There's such resistance. If you get kids into exercising young, they find it fun. There's not any like a part of devilment in them that, oh, I'm being allowed to do this. Like, this is great. You know, it's like they're getting away with something. And they have a positive association. So when they grow then into adulthood, they have a positive association and they'll keep doing it. You know, that's why, like, I lived in Lanzarote for 6 years and I had a gym there. And I used to always get the parents to include their kids, you know, even 5 years of age. And they'd be doing like all kinds of squats and all kinds of stuff, because I wanted them, one, learn it correctly. That's one thing. And two, just have a good association, have fun, see it as fun. So you have that aspect of it. In terms of the whole bones and growing into it and so on, there's always been a lot of fear mongering around this. Like, the reality is, a kid should never go to full maximum, like, you know, not to full maximum, not to failure, because their body is developing. But a kid can go, again, could be 50%, 60%, 70% type level of what their failure could potentially be. That's not bad for them. If anything will help them, and they're building up strength in their tendons, ligaments, and muscles, and their bone density from a very young age, which will serve them then for decades and decades and decades. So from an exercise point of view, there is no problem with kids exercising. And even like, this is how it's always easy to destroy that argument. What do kids do who are just messing around, let's say, in a playground? Like, they're jumping off walls, they're, you know, jumping this and that. They're, in essence, when we think about the movement, they're squatting a lot of the time. So they're just naturally doing exercises anyway. That we see as gym exercise, but they're not in a gym. So they're using their bodies, they're using their limbs, they're using their bones. So it's good to exercise no matter what. So age is not a limit at all. As I said, I've had people in my classes at 5 years of age. From the nutritional point of view, that's where you have to be careful. Now, this is where parents have such an important role, because one, there shouldn't be obesity with kids anyway, because your metabolism is super fast as a kid. And this is why the modern lifestyle is so reflective in kids, because in every class now, I'd imagine at least 50% are overweight. And it's not the States, like we see it in Ireland, England as well. See it everywhere. So it's growing rapidly. And you see it even in the east of the world, like obesity is growing and growing there, like all diseases too. But with kids, you can't make it an issue. You can't make it about dieting. So I've worked with lots of kids over the years too. And it's more about working with the parents versus with the kid. So it's like, usually, like, it's what are the parents doing? How are they feeding the kid? What excuse are they making for themselves in terms of they're tired or time or convenience, whatever it may be? And then the kid kind of is getting fed that. So that time it's what the parents are doing, and then that will feed through to the kid. Now, parents often say, oh, but they don't like this, don't like that. But a lot of time, again, that's come again from, if the kid was 4 and you give it, let's say, cucumber, oh, I hate that. And then you don't give it to them because they said they hate it. Of course they're going to bloody hate it. They have that association and they think they hate it. When if it's no, eat it, it's good for you, or mix it in with something, they'll probably be fine. So like, it's like, don't be just giving in to their whims, because kids will, anyone who's kids knows kids will always test you. You know, that's what they do. They constantly test you. You can't be giving in to them. It's no different than parents letting their kids in the bed and the kid's still there at 8 years of age. That's because you let him in for too long. You know, so it's the same with food and everything. You have to make sure, again, you have the rules and get them used to eating good food. And it doesn't matter if you're 5 or you're 50. If you start eating the right food, your body will want more of it. Like, I had a client before whose kid would not eat vegetables. No way whatsoever. And I said, okay, we need to fool this kid into eating vegetables. So let's make it into like a smoothie, or you blend it up or whatever way and give it into dinner. Mix it into the dinner in some shape or form. I mean, this kid would eat none. And after a few months, she said to me, he's looking for green beans and he's looking for carrots. He's looking for this. Yeah, because his body had been getting that nutrition in without him realizing. And then his body starts going, oh, I like this. This is really good for my body, my muscles, my bones, my everything. Give me more. It's this thing, when you give yourself the right food, it wants more. Just like when you give yourself the wrong food, it wants more of that too. So with kids, it's more about the parents and the kid itself, because if you start going on to a kid about, their diet and stuff like that, there's too many hang-ups, especially these days in comparison culture. There's too many issues psychologically that it could create. So you have to kind of be sneaky in a way. So it's more about the parents than the kid in terms of the nutritional aspect. But it's just encouraging them again with good habits. It's a good way to live, feeling good, especially if they're into any form of sport. It'll help you to be fitter. It'll help you to be faster. It'll help you to build muscle. Let's say if they played rugby or NFL or basketball or these kind of sports, they want to build. And the thing is, let's say for a guy, 12, 13 on, once puberty is kind of kicked in, if they're doing weights, it's going to build muscle. So again, for their confidence, self-esteem, self-image, again, there's a whole positive association with that because they're looking better, feeling better. It transfers to the sport. And then when they hit into 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, they have to have a positive association. So it's highly unlikely they're going to fall off the wagon unless something major happens in life that takes them out. So it's really important to get kids into exercising as young as possible, create positive associations, and around the nutrition side, encourage and educate, but depending on the situation, be sneaky about it. And for coaches and stuff, work with the parents, not really directly with the kid.
What about girls, Dave? You hear a lot that like girls they're big into the sport until 13, 14, 15, and then suddenly there can be this big drop off that suddenly it's not cool anymore to play certain sports. Is that something that comes up a lot with parents or that you've heard about?
Yeah, like it is more typical with girls. I think as well, for whatever reason, like girls tend to go more academic, where it be again parental influence or their influence, whereas the guys will keep wanting to play their sports and maybe be academic, that kind of way. So girls definitely are more tuned into that and future thinking, whereas guys usually think more short term. I think this is why I see it massively, and you guys probably do as well in the gyms. Like there's a huge influx of young girls in the gym now, in terms of when I say young, I mean, 16, 17 up towards early 20s. And the gym now is becoming the thing to do for that kind of age group, which is great. And it's like the whole kind of booty culture, like the whole trend now is for girls to build booties. So they're kind of all tied into that. There's so much information online about it and so on. So it gets them in. That's what they want to do. And obviously they're going to get their whole body in shape and they're going to get into exercising in general. So I think for girls, it typically tends to be an encouragement towards the gym or gym-based exercise or things like yoga, Pilates. Like they're really good entry-level things for girls, like teenage girls. It's more towards that angle. Versus guys, most guys will go towards sports of some sort. And then they may do the gym because of the sport, because they want to get fitter, faster, build muscle typically. Obviously, again, the whole aesthetic side of things. Whereas I said, the girls is nearly like they go in for the aesthetics, and that's where the gym has become appealing. So I think it's encouraging towards that. Plus, like I said, yoga, Pilates are really good things for them as well. And you have to look at the hormones, like, female hormones, like there's such an impact on it. This is why it's so important as well for girls to get into exercise young, get into good nutrition young, because, obviously male and female, there's hormones and hormonal effects and things like that, but it's, more severe for girls, obviously. And it's like you said earlier in terms of like weight, Paul, like that's such a huge issue with girls. And the reality is women weighing themselves is literally psychological torture. Like if anything, they should never weigh themselves. Because if you've taken the course for a month, their weight's fluctuating throughout that month. And they could be doing amazing and it's showing up because it's the week before. Or it could be they're not doing great and it's down and it's the week after their cycle. Same as you go the other end of the scale when people are either pre-menopause, perimenopause, going through menopause, post-menopause. So this is like constant dialogue I have with women who are in either
Yeah, we've
end of
lots
the
of them
scale.
in our program. Yeah.
Yeah, loads. Like, and that's been a big discussion because it's like take the other end, like the menopause side. It's such a change in their body. It's massive. And estrogen has such an impact on the overall running of their body. And that has a huge impact on their metabolism. It has a huge impact on their bones, has a huge impact on their fat levels, their body's ability to burn fat, and then it has a huge impact on their weight. So it's a constant, like nearly battle dialogue I have with clients that are in that age bracket. But the thing is, it's about sowing the seeds. This is why it's so important as well, how you educate people. Make sure you keep things as simple as possible. Dumb things down. Not scientific jargon, dumb things down to the level so they can actually understand it. And even though part of their brain is kind of resisting it in terms of, say, the reason their weight is a certain level or whatever, they do know it makes sense. It's just there's so much conditioning around weight, and that's what they're so entrenched with. But over time, they start to see that, you know what? the weight isn't reflecting, and my measurements are down. Like some the other day, I think was up 2 pounds, but they were down 3 inches on their waist. So I said, brilliant. There's your proof. You're down in terms of your body is actually smaller. Your clothes are fitting better. That was it. It was 3 notches down in a belt. So your waist is much smaller. Your hips are much smaller. Isn't that far more important than your weight? Like if I was to tell you, I'm going to click my fingers and you're in your dream body, but you're up a stone. Could you care less? No, because we want to look good. That's what we want ultimately. But it's you have to keep sowing that seed. You have to keep sowing that message. Because again, you know, we're all marketed, but women are always the ones marketed the most because they're typically the buyers. You know, so they're constantly marketed, and they know that if Mary Jo is on one program and like Jane up the road is on another and it seems to be faster, she's hopping to Jane's program, even though her one might be better or may work anyway. So it's hopping one to the other to never get anywhere. This way you have to be consistent and disciplined and follow something over a period of time. But the hormonal thing is a real thing. This is why you have to, as a female, guys to a certain degree, but nowhere near as much, because your weight's kind of roughly around where you're at. But for females, don't take note of your weight. Either it be skin fold calipers for body fat, or tape measurements, or photos, or your clothes, or then obviously how you're feeling and things like that. Even your cycle. You know, women suffer an awful lot with their cycle. So much of that is down to their lifestyle. As their lifestyle improves, their cycle, the discomfort, pain, all that side is going to decrease. Because it can be pretty horrific where you can be literally bedridden. I've known girls who've been literally bedridden. But as their lifestyle gets better, and their body functions how it was designed to function, they go through their week where, yes, it's uncomfortable, but they can function. So you have to take all these things into consideration. And this is why you have frameworks and plans. Like, well, we have an amazing framework and all that we do with people and put them through, but then you personalize depending. Because even with how a person feels in their weekly cycle or the monthly cycle, or when they're going through their menopause, there's no just this is what's going to happen. It'll vary person to person. So you have to adjust things accordingly. But getting people their brain off the weight is really, really key. For females, as I said, especially.
You talked about measurements a few times there, and the thing that actually stopped me from starting earlier, because I remember I met Paul around when he showed me the videos and the images and stuff. That was like in December. I didn't actually start the program until like March or something like that. And what kept me from doing it is I didn't have a smart scale. I didn't have a way of measuring myself. And I kept trying to go online and try to find the right one and blah, blah. And it was another excuse of why I didn't want to start it. So maybe you could talk a little bit about how you measure your progress and or some of the blockages people might have, like even I had, as far as getting started when I knew I should have.
Yeah. It's like, that's great, George. That's a great example. So take with that, right? The ideal is you'll have a scale for taking your weight and body fat. Now, as a stress to them, I'm getting you to do that more so out of discipline and consistency. Because if you're disciplined in one area of your life, like getting up, go to the toilet, take your weight and body fat, put it onto the app. If you're disciplined in that, you're going to be disciplined in other areas. If you're not disciplined in that, you won't be disciplined in other areas. So it's about discipline more so than, I don't really care about the weight. It'll be more informative for me about the females. However, let's say like that, oh, I can't find the right scales, or whatever reason. You can get a tape measure. Tape measure is going to cost very little. You probably have one at home anyway. Get a tape measure. At least start measuring again around your chest, around your belly button, around your hips if you're a female, around your thighs, around your upper arms. Take your photos. Everyone's got a phone. Take the photos yourself as a selfie, or get someone to take your photos. You've got clothes. There's something in your wardrobe that doesn't fit you. Take it out, have it on the outside, something you really want to fit into. And that's my goal for, let's say, if it's kind of a bit tight, in 1 month I'm fitting into that and it's feeling comfy. Or it might be 3 months with something that you need to drop a size or two. So you have tangible measurements that are real. They're real. It's just like in terms of the sleep. Like, sleep's one of the first things we fix because it's so important. It impacts everything. Waking up actually feeling fresh and like you've had a sleep, and especially when it becomes less hours than you're used to having, but you actually fresher, again, that's real. Same as energy, feeling more energy. So go by real results. This way, the weight body fat says is more about discipline than anything. But it's all excuses. Like you said, that was just an excuse. I can't get the scales. I can't find it. There would have been a scale somewhere in your town somewhere, as opposed to even online, but you can get a tape measure. So if for anybody who's living by that script of the scales and things, or you might just have a huge resistance to the scales because, again, the weight just does your head in. Get a tape measure, because the reality is, if you're doing the right things, you will get results. That's guaranteed. The tape measure will show that you're getting results, just like your clothes will, just like how you feel will. So if you're focused on them and you see them and you're taking them regularly, you're going to see results. That incentivizes you to go on. Just like, say, if you're not getting results, it'll be within something you're not doing. Because again, you do reap what you sow. You know, if you're not doing the right things, you're going to get the right results. This is why like things like food diaries and things like that, or using apps is so important, because you're leaving no stone unturned. Like, I write out everything I eat. I write out all my training. I write out everything down to bowel movements. I have like a Google Doc for everything, because I want to leave no stone unturned. I know exactly what I'm going to do tomorrow. I probably know what I'm going to do next month. But again, it goes back to discipline. So every evening I'll fill that in out of discipline. So again, you just need to get these kind of habits in that are positive. And remember, every time you do one of these things, you feel more empowered by it. But from a measurement point of view, start with photos, clothes, tape measurements. Ideally get a scale that does body fat as well, but do not let that stop you from starting.
The sleep was an interesting thing too. I was going to ask you, Paul, about your sleep schedule, because I have sometimes, because you travel a lot, right? That just screws your sleep up a lot, right? Like, what time zone are you in? Like, you're going from England and Ireland over to America. You're talking about 7-hour differences and all that stuff. So I'm curious, do you guys like to, or recommend, periodic naps throughout the day, or is it more like start and stop? You have to have it, because I know when we talked earlier, it was like you should stop eating at a certain time, so your body has this, realization that I'm not going to eat anymore. So start using this fuel and get it out of our system, right? So I don't know, what's the thought on sleep there?
So with sleep, what's important? We all have a circadian rhythm, it's called. Okay, so we've like a stop start, and we create it as well. So this is why it's good to get like morning light. So that like activates it. It's like in the back of the eye, and then evening light, if you can, get out as the sun's setting, and that's like resetting your circadian rhythm every day, and that does impact your sleep. Okay, that's like more. It's like an advanced strategy towards it. But what's really key, we touched on earlier on in terms of routines, lifestyle, habits, and so on. It's the same with sleep. For most people, the problem is they don't have a set sleep routine. So they go to sleep at different times. They do different things before they go to sleep. They get up at different times if their lifestyle allows. Obviously, if someone needs to go up a certain time to bring the kids to school or go to work if they work on a job or whatever it may be, there's some kind of set part at the start of the day. But usually at the other end of the day, it's like free reign. There's no consistency. We need to have consistency. You need to set up a sleep time. You need to set up a waking time. Also, what you need to do is before the lights out, have a pre-sleep routine, minimum at least 15 minutes, anything up to 2 hours. No tech, no lights, no nothing like that. If they can even dim down lights in terms of lights of the house, room, wherever you are, but don't be on your phone, don't be on technology of any sort, and do stuff to relax your mind. Because the problem for a lot of people is we live in a very fast-paced world. We live in a stressed world, whether it be good or bad stress, and our minds are going 90s all day, just 100 miles per hour all day. And if you don't switch that off and slow it down before you go to sleep, it doesn't matter how many baths you take, how much meditation you do, how much journaling you do before you turn off the light, you ain't getting a good sleep. So there's a lot of sleep habits that are important, but if you don't shut your mind down, so it's very important to shut the mind down, and in whatever way works for you. And also what you want to do is create association. So in terms of like giving an example of myself, so I would turn off everything. Let's say usually 11 o'clock is my lights out time, 10:30 I'm off tech and everything, and then I go into my routine of do a bit of journaling, wins gratitudes, a bit of meditation. I do some stretching because I'd be tight from sitting down. Get ready for bed, go into bed, start reading. Within 2-3 pages, I'm gone. Because of that triggers, like when I start reading, that's why I can't read physical books during the day anymore. I have to listen to everything. When I start reading, the men in my head or whoever's in there starts going, oh, he's reading. He must be going to sleep soon. Turn on the melatonin. Get it pumping into his body. He needs to go to sleep. And 2-3 pages in, I go, okay, that's enough. Turn off the light, gone. So ideally, where you want to get to is that you turn off the light and you're gone. You don't even remember going to sleep. And you set alarm if you need to, but you never hear the alarm. Like I haven't heard my alarm in decades because I'll always wake up before it if I have one set. So that's all about creating routine. Now, again, that doesn't just happen overnight, but it can happen really fast. Like I've seen people change their sleep completely within a couple of days or a week. That's possible. Even in one night. I say people when I first talk to them about this, I can pretty much guarantee you tonight you will have the best sleep ever if you do even a few of the things I've said. Even just like don't have this as your alarm. Get a battery alarm clock, something like that. Turn off the phone. Something as simple as that. You will wake up tomorrow morning. Now, it can go one or two ways. You can go, well, I actually slept much deeper. I feel quite fresh. Or if you're seriously, seriously, chronically fatigued from decades of poor sleeping habits, you might feel way worse. It's like the body going, oh my God, finally he's going to let me sleep. And it wants more and more and more of it. So it can go either way, but that'll sort itself out in a week. But it starts like everything, like exercise, food, everything. Take a positive step and then building it. But ultimately, create a set sleeping time, a waking time, a period of time before bed at minimum 15 minutes, and the longer the better. No tech, and doing stuff that will relax your mind and create association. Now, like the cheat thing though, it's actually good again to not have it every day. Okay? You don't have to do like everything every day. So like for me, I have that routine 5 days of the week, 6 days of the week. And then say like typically a Friday night, I'd stay up late, could be 2 o'clock in the morning. And I might get up 9, 10 o'clock. Typically, I'll end up sleeping the same period of time. And I will still do my pre-sleep routine because at the end of the day, I want to have deep sleep regardless. But it's okay to break the rules a little bit because it's, again, like a reboot. And then you really feel the value of when you're doing it right. Okay? But sleep is the most important because if you don't sleep right, and I always say to people, like, do you sleep? Yeah, obviously everyone sleeps. Sleep well? Yeah, I think I sleep well. And I always ask them, do you use this as your alarm, the phone? Yes. Do you have the notifications on? Yes. Do you have it charging when you're asleep? Yes. You're not sleeping then. Because once you're doing those things, you cannot sleep. It's like having alcohol at night. You look asleep. I walk into your room, you look asleep, you're not asleep. Not in terms of getting deep sleep, REM sleep, your body recovering, repairing. And the problem is that then has such an impact on your blood sugar, that has such an impact on the way your body utilizes fat as fuel, or it ends up being the opposite, it doesn't, and it stores it. Such an impact on cortisol levels, hormones. This is why if you fix your sleep, a lot of your health issues will completely disappear. That's how powerful sleep is. I always say it's like the last piece of the equation. Like you have, again, you're working your mindset and having all that. You have the nutrition, hydration, you have the exercise, but then you have the sleep. The sleep is actually the most important one. Because if you don't have that right, all your efforts in the gym, you're going to get minimal results. You have to sleep right, you're going to get maximum results. Same as from your nutrition, because it's that when you sleep, it's when the magic actually happens. That's when the body really goes to work, because it's when it has the opportunity to. And same even for your brain, get a break. You can't keep going 24/7. That's where you're going to burn out. That's where you're going to cardiac rate variables and adrenal glands and all these things are important, and testosterone and estrogen, because all these things get affected. It's like for guys, and as you get older, again, it's all about testosterone. There's a huge drive for that now, and everyone needs to get TRT, and even in their 20s. Again, look at your lifestyle. Doesn't mean no one needs it, but usually it's the lifestyle that's leading you to have low testosterone. There's so many things you can do to fix it. Like I'm 48, my testosterone levels are high, but it's because of how I live and how I've lived for 31 years and progressively. So remember, everything's cumulative. So starting in with positive step and building it. Like create a foundation in any of the areas we've spoken of. And also create a foundation and then add layers. Like add layer, and keep building. That's why I say it's evolving, and why I say it's about becoming better, not best, because there is no best.
So I know we need to wrap up pretty soon. So just a couple of things. One, we haven't mentioned the gym, right? Which is kind of really funny. We're speaking for an hour and a half about health, and we haven't got to a point that is a huge blocker, especially we have a ton of clients, 60 plus, 70 plus in their 80s. And the gym is something they've never done, never touched, don't like it, don't feel comfortable there. I suppose the rule when I joined the program was you have to join the gym because A, the equipment, B, what that means, you've got flexibility now to do lots of different things. But more than anything, number 3 is the identity that I am the type of person that goes to the gym. So just my 2 cents on that is there are so many options available with gyms nowadays. Like if you go into one and it's full of teenage girls and guys with selfies and it's driving you mad, and as much as you want to tune it out, you can't. It's like, what's wrong with them, etc. And we're very judgmental in it. Don't go to that gym, right? For example, even in Ireland, there's like a gym. They say we are not a gym, but it is a gym. It's called Matchbox. And basically it's for people 50 plus, 60 plus, maybe they're in cancer remission or whatever it is, all gym equipment, but it's not full of, muscle bros or whatever you want to call them. So my 2 cents is have a shop around and find one that you're comfortable with. It could be one that doesn't have a ton of equipment and could be a bit older, but it could be perfect for what you're looking for. What are your thoughts on that, Dave? Because we haven't mentioned the app yet, which is like the coolest thing of all. So
Yeah, it's
literally
amazing.
your exact exercise, how to do it, how many you did the last time, how many reps you need to do. They're all there on your phone, so you can just watch it as you're doing it. So you don't need to feel foolish. You don't have to have a personal trainer. In fact, you'll save a fortune on personal trainers because it'll all be on the app. So let me pass that across to you, Dave, on that.
Yeah, like the app's amazing. It's literally like having a personal trainer in your pocket. You've got exercise demos. It tells you the rest periods. It has the countdowns. You know, you just input your information. I see everything. You see everything. Not everybody else, because people always worry, is this public? It's you and I. And that information is crucial for me to see photos, measurements, your workout details, so that at least then I can see it's right and it needs to be tweaked or adjusted. And I can see if you're also not doing it, and then go, right, have an exercise in 3 days. What's going on? Get onto you. Maybe you were lazy, or maybe something happened in life. Like I said, curveballs. You've got that side. In terms of the gym thing, like that is an important thing in terms of a lot of people have an aversion and a resistance, especially the older that they are. I always stress them, look, you have that aversion, you have that resistance, no more than me. Remember, my impression was a bunch of knucklehead bodybuilders. I wasn't going in there, and I was only 17 at the time. So someone 50, 60, 70 is going to have a massive resistance. But it's another thing, again, showing your commitment. That's one of the things I always stress them. It's like, look, even if in a year's time you're not going to gym anymore, you decide, you know what, I really, really don't like it. Go now, start now. But like Paul said, find one that suits you. Find an environment that you feel pretty okay in. Find people who are a bit more like-minded, you feel comfortable in. And again, I'm there between the app and then myself to support you along the way. But it's important to get in the habit, because then at least you go to the gym. You know, you've broken that resistance. Remember I said earlier, from a psychological point of view, people have scripts and patterns and associations and all these things. I'm not going to gym. I hate the gym. I don't like it. That's all that is. No, that's really true. You know, it's a story you're telling yourself. And you feel really empowered by going to the gym. And also it's showing, again, a commitment. Like the another thing you're doing, where instead of being at home, people always say about home-based exercise, and it's great. It's super convenient. We spoke about convenience a lot. But people are getting too much into convenience for everything. It's great to get out and have that little obstacle, however far it is to go to gym, go and do it, and then come back. Because again, it's proven commitment. Remember, everything's about commitment and discipline. Like I said earlier, even taking your weight after getting up, going to the toilet and put on the app. You know, it's discipline. So if you're going to the gym, you're showing more discipline, you're showing more commitment, and you're also learning how to exercise. Because let's say you go off on holidays and there's a gym, there's a hotel gym, you'll know how to use it. That'll be great for us not having a clue. And you might want to do something, or they might have classes or whatever it may be. So it's just one of those things to break in terms of your resistance patterns and scripts you run in your heads. That's one thing. And it does give you more options. Unless you can afford to get a decent amount of equipment at home, like you can get stuff that might be 100, 150 quid. You can do a decent bit, but you are very restricted in terms of how many exercises you can do or what type. The gym basically is like going to the playground. It's like going to the biggest playground ever for the gym. You have so many options. So it just keeps things more interesting. And also, you know, one of the important things for getting results is constantly changing your program on a fairly regular basis. So if you're in the gym, there's a lot more options. First, if you're at home with minimal equipment, there isn't that many options. One thing I do want to stress, though, the most important thing of all is to do the exercise. That's actually the most important thing. So while we'd encourage you always do the gym, if for whatever reason that isn't possible, or you just can't get your head to tune into it, but you will do something at home, it's better to do something than do nothing. But like I said, I always encourage people initially, definitely do the gym for a while, see how you go. More often than not, they actually love it, because it's another environment. It's different from work, it's different from home, and you actually get to enjoy it. Like this one particular client who had a massive resistance for, I'd say it was about 4 months, and eventually got her to go into the gym. She's going now 6 days a week. Can't get enough of it, doing amazing. And she always says to me, I just love it because it's not home and it's not work. It's my space. But sometimes can take a few months for the penny to drop. And now she's doing amazing. So see it that way. It's your space.
Yeah, and have a shop around, because like even you might get surprised by the type of gym that you prefer, right? You might think you prefer like a hotel type one, and then like Joanna, who's works with me as a ghostwriter, she purposely has picked this place in Houston where it's actually like a proper bodybuilder gym where it's all huge guys, and she said, I love it. Everybody is there, no photographs, no videos. Everyone's in there just to do their routine, no social. So that's exactly what I want out of my gym. So have a look around, see what the options are. If it's really busy, that's the last place you want to be. For me, I don't like having to queue up for, like, I couldn't cope with that. But I think, to be fair, most gyms now, they're very aware of that, and they have like excess equipment to make sure that, you know, the most used pieces of equipment, that there's usually backups. Not really in the event of hotel type gyms, but certainly in you know, actual commercial gyms.
Yeah. Yeah, they've become quite big in terms of size. I mean, like gyms have gone
Gyms are
quite
huge.
large, even Ireland, England, and they have everything. I mean,
Yeah.
every machine you can imagine, and usually multiples of each machine.
So what I want to do just before we wrap up here, Dave, I think we'll have to get you on one of our live sessions with a Q&A, so our audience can ask their specific questions. And what we haven't had a
True.
chance to do at all today is to go through success stories, because I mean, that's what convinces people, you know, that when you see amazing stories after stories. So what we've done, and Dave has very kindly agreed to do this, is if you want to book a call directly with Dave to see if the program is a fit for you, you can either scan the QR code if you're watching this on YouTube, or the link itself, and I'll just say this slowly, is rsm.one. That's ONE, rsm.one/health 101. /health 101. So just repeat that again, rsm.one, spelled ONE, /health 101. And what you can do there, Dave has just set this up super easy for you. For just $50, you book a session with Dave where he'll actually review with you if this is a fit or not. And if it's not, he will give you your own game plan as to what exactly you should be doing to get you to a point where maybe the program will be suitable for you in the future. There are no exclusions on this in terms of age or anything like that. It's really, really important that you have that conversation, because there is nothing more important than your health. You know, and there's a lot of people out there, and a lot of my audience I know are very giving people, and they put others before themselves. But eventually you're going to run out of battery, you're going to run out of charge, and you know, you're going to be overdrawn on your health. So, you know, for the sake of $50, you know, get a health check-in here so that you can have a plan to follow. And then hopefully from there, it'll make sense for you to join the community and just, you know, make a commitment to yourself that between now and whatever amount of years you have left, that they're the healthiest possible, most vibrant years of your life that they possibly can be. So, George, anything you want to say before we wrap up? Thank you, Dave, for being here. Really appreciate it.
Pleasure.
Yeah, I would just say one thing I would say is this. At 50 years old, I feel better than I've ever felt in my life, even at 18. You know, and that's a couple different lifestyle changes. You know, one is just getting outside. You know, so everything that Dave and Paul have been talking about, 100%. Eating healthier, eating organic, you know, just doing something that makes sense. You know, and sometimes, because I used to work out heavily as a young man, and I never got past 150 pounds. I could never get past 150 pounds. But in my 40s, I just started seeing, the later 40s, I started seeing my poundage going up. I'm like, what's going on here? You know, the metabolism's slowing down and my weight's going up. And that's when I started realizing, like, you know, at some point in time, it's going to get so far beyond that I'm going to lose the motivation to fix it, to get back to where I needed to get to. So I would say if you even have an inkling of, you know, maybe I don't feel as healthy, maybe I don't feel like I'm getting enough sleep, maybe I don't look as well as I want to, you know, don't just do it for yourself. You know, I mean, that should be the number one motivation, is do it for yourself, right? But do it for the other people around you, because people will watch. Like we talked a little bit earlier about children, right? Kids watch the parents. If the parents are not eating healthy, they're not practicing discipline in certain areas of their life, like they're just going to follow that, right? They think that's the norm, and it just goes further and further and further and further away. And the more that you let this get further away from you, the harder it's going to be to reverse. You know, it doesn't mean it's going to be impossible, because it's very possible. These guys have figured out the blueprint, you know, to make this thing work. But I would just say, I would encourage everyone to jump into the app, jump into the community, you know, do this. I guarantee you it'll be the best $50 you ever spend, because it's the gateway to changing your life. And I can't speak more highly of this program, truthfully. I feel amazing. You know, I've only been on it for about, like I said, about 6 weeks, a little over 6 weeks. And yeah, I don't want to go back. It's great. So that's one thing I could say is it was the best decision I ever made was when Paul showed me like, hey, look, this is what I've been doing. That's all I needed. And he didn't change my life alone. I'm sure that everybody else at that table has taken proactive measures, to start, even whether they jump into the program or not, like everyone around you is affected. So do it for the family as well. Do it for your loved ones. Do it with the people you run into at the grocery store, the coffee store that you see on a regular basis, because you don't even know who you can affect by their saying, this person's getting healthy. Oh my gosh, maybe I should go to the gym. Maybe I should change my eating habits or whatever they might do. And of course, they'll ask you, what are you doing differently? You look great. What's going on? So that's just my 2 cents, 2.5 cents.
Yeah, like that's super important point, because everybody wins. You win, and everyone you engage with wins. Even like it was good you said there, even with the coffee shop, because you're giving off a totally different energy. We're all energy, and we're giving off energy, and when we're in a good place internally, which again, our health, how we look, all that stuff has a big impact on emotional health and so on. You're giving off a better energy. People will gravitate towards you. They'll want to know what you're doing. You'll motivate friends, family, kids, and so on, co-workers, employees, to take better care of themselves. And then the other point then was, which is really important, it is never too late. We have people on the program in our community that are in their 70s and 80s. Now, when that first happened, when I was doing calls with them and they told me their age, I was first thinking, wow, it's kind of surprising. But also I was thinking, this is bloody amazing, because they're not thinking, oh, I'm 80, what's the point? Which is fantastic that they took the action on it. So if you were 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 even right now, it's never too late. You can always improve. And as I said, there are people in the program, quite a few, 70s and 80s even, and they're doing amazing.
Well, thank you so much, Dave. I fully intend to still be on it at that age.
Yeah.
And well, we'll definitely, like I say, we'll bring you back on again so we can do a live interaction. Really appreciate it. Take care, guys, and we'll see you on our very next episode. Again, if you haven't subscribed to the podcast, please do on Apple or Spotify, and go to our YouTube channel to see the full video footage of this. The YouTube channel is Rethink and Grow Rich. Take care, everyone. Talk to you soon. So if you're tired of starting habits which don't stick, then come and join our amazing Rethink community. You can use the link in the description to join. So it's a community where we support each other to start and grow and keep new habits. You can also download our Rethink Habits Planner while you're there, designed to help you track your new habit streaks. So go to rethinkhabits.com to download the planner and join the community today, or click on the link in the description. That's rethinkhabits.com, and I will see you there.